Conservatives, myself included, do not see the president's Buffett tax as a way to fix the economy. In fact, Mitt Romney's campaign says it would actually raise taxes on many small businesses and end up hurting job creation. Joining me now from New York with a different perspective, I can't believe that, David Callahan, senior fellow at the Democratic think tank Demos, and here in D.C., Erica Payne. She's the president of the Agenda Project, a progressive advocacy group. Okay, let's start with you, Erica, because I'm reading your point of view on my sheet, and you actually want to go further than the Buffett rule, because the Buffett rule is not aggressive enough for you. So tell us how.
It's not nearly aggressive enough for me. If you look at World War II, right after World War II, people with incomes of over $1 million paid as much as 91% of that income over $1 million in taxes. And we did that because we had a major problem as a country. We had a massive financial collapse, and we had a war we had to pay for. So at this moment in American history, when we had a problem, we turned to the people who had the most amount of money to solve it. And we're in exactly the same position today.
Did 49% of the population pay zero in taxes during World War II?
You know, you all love to pull this out about how so many Americans don't pay taxes.
Of federal income?
Let's be clear. Every American pays sales tax. Most Americans pay
right. If we were doing
taxes on their payroll.
If we were doing a segment on sales tax, we would actually in that conversation. But my point is that 49% are sharing none of the federal tax burden.
That's actually not
and it's
true.
weighted the other way. It is true.
85% of Americans pay payroll taxes like Social Security and Medicare.
That's not income taxes. Something totally different.
It's a tax on their
10% are, of the income earners in the country pay 70% of the federal tax burden. It seems fairly progressive. But beyond that, and we'll get to David in a moment.
So about 1% of the people in the country have most of the income. If you look at the last 20 years,
they earn the income, right.
In the top. Oh, so you really want to tell me that the hedge fund managers who just collapsed the economy earned the income? They took $13 trillion out of GDP.
You know what I would like you to do is like take a magic wand. And if you take that magic wand and wave it across the U.S. economy and just get rid of all hedge funds. Get rid of them, but just get rid of them. Because if they're such bad people, just get rid of them.
I'd love to
it's
see
such a ridiculous approach.
All of the tax breaks.
Let's get rid of all job creators.
Let's get rid of all of the tax breaks for people who make more than $1 million a year.
Because
you know how much that is?
Yeah.
It's about $450,000 a year that we hand to people who make more than $1 million a year in tax breaks and
actually,
subsidies.
Talking over me doesn't make your point any more logical. But I would say, and David, you can chime in here because you have to have two against me to actually make this a fair fight. David, here's what the White House's own, I guess it was the principal deputy director of the White House National Economic Council. He's a principal deputy, so he must be really important. Jason Furman. He said that none of the money, it was never our plan to bring the deficit down and to get debt under control. That this Buffett tax, when you look at this analysis, really has nothing to do about shrinking the deficit. This is being done in an election year in the state of Florida, which is a swing state in the campaign, as the president knows there is no chance of this passing. So how is this serious? Even if you agree with Erica and multimillionaires should pay 91% in taxes, okay, that's your position. But even if that were true, it's not going to pass. So why go down this road? Not be together in some type of bipartisan path.
Well, I agree. This is largely symbolic. But I think there is an important principle here, which is people living off their stocks and investments shouldn't be paying a lower tax rate than people who work for a living. And I'll give you an example that you can relate to, which is, you know, in 2010, Mitt Romney and Bill O'Reilly made about the same amount of money. They both made about $20 million. Romney paid 14% taxes on that. Bill O'Reilly paid 35%, the top federal rate. Now, I don't know why Romney, who wasn't even working actively in his business, he was campaigning for president, should pay less than half the tax rate. Bill O'Reilly was coming to work every day, except when you're here. The principle here is that rich people who live off their wealth in stocks, which most people don't have, shouldn't be paying lower taxes than people who go to work every single day.
Well,
it makes no sense, Laura, and it's one of the biggest loopholes we have in the tax system.
Well, I understand your point, but the numbers are meaningless. $46.7 billion over 10 years, when over that time period, if we continue down this Obama road, Erica, we add $7 trillion to our deficit. $7 trillion.
So, Laura,
can you come back
a couple of things. David, hold on. And I really like your difference between those, but I would put it a little bit more starkly than you. This is the difference between trust fund babies and people who work for a living. That's really the difference. You're talking about my mother, who was a high school principal, my father, who was a judge. You think that those people
I'll one up you on that. My mother was a waitress.
My mother spent her entire life as a waitress until she put herself through college. But you're saying that those people, that people like that, should pay a higher tax rate than Paris Hilton, than a trust fund baby. The Buffett rule, and it is a rule, is to say that we live in a society where that is absolutely unacceptable.
It's not
for somebody who. How is it not serious?
Because it has no chance of passing.
Can I tell you why it has no chance of passing? Because Republicans will hold it up because they care more about their wealthy contributors than they care about average Americans.
Grandstanding on this doesn't change the
facts.
The
budget has no chance of passing either.
Yeah, David.
So let's not talk about what can pass.
David, at least the numbers are interesting to examine. We had 2 years of, we had 2 years of a Democrat-controlled Congress and the White House. 2 years. You guys pushed through not the Buffett rule, not serious deficit reduction. You pushed through health care reform that's about to be overturned by the Supreme Court. That was the president's decision.
Everyone in America knows that if you are trying to run a small business, as I have run a small business, you look at the rising cost of health care, and that is a noose around the neck of small business. Something had to be done. You also look at the hole that we were in. 750,000 jobs being lost a month trying to climb out of that hole. This is about trust fund babies and people who work for a living.
The demagoguery is so lame.
This is not demagoguery. There are 370,000 people in the country who make more than $1 million a year.
We can't have a segment if you just talk over the other person. However, we have people who've made $1 million for the first time in their business lives who then go on and invest some of their earnings into other companies. To demonize those people and call them trust fund babies in Paris Hilton is an insult to small businesses and working people in this country.
I've got 200 million
Erica,
who disagree
David,
with you.
thank you.